I have two guests, the new Director of Missions for First Baptist Church, Tyler, Dr. Clinton Lowen, if you would, and Charles Hall. We're delighted to have you here today.
It's great to have you folks with us today. It is a great day in Tyler, and it's a great time to be in Rotary. So thank you for coming, Mr. President.
Thank you, David. I wanted to, let's see, let me get back to what my brains are just a moment. The greeters, I was thankful for Bill Kroon and Donna, his wife, that did our greeting, helped us set the tone for this meeting. Thank you very much. And also, I would like to call on, at this particular time, Chris Kirk. Where are you? I don't see you right there. Okay. You want to talk to us a moment about the grocery bag?
Yes, it's a very deep subject. The East Texas Food, Madam, can you hear me now? East Texas Food Bank, their food distributions, provides only 2 plastic bags per family who are collecting the food. And because they are so expensive, some of the families stagger along the line holding giant cauliflowers or cabbages, whatever they've got. If we can provide recycled grocery bags, that will clean out your cupboards a little bit, and it will also enable the food bank to put their funds to better use. So this is a request, please, to bring your used grocery bags along every week as they become available. I'll collect them and take them to the food bank, and I think that will help everybody. So bring them on. I'm planning to put a box on the wall just past the table where we collect our name badges, and just drop them in there, and I will pick them up at the end of the meeting. So, grocery bags. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Chris. Holly would like to have your volunteer hours for February. Please email her that. She emails you every week. You'll have her address. We keep track of that, not just for Rotary volunteer, but any nonprofit organization or church that you volunteer hours. We'd like to know that, keep track of it. Also, I want to call to your attention that volunteers are still needed for the historic Tyler Home Tours, which are on April the 1st and the 2nd. There's a sign-up sheet out front. I know I've signed out. If you want further information, Bill Kroon can tell you on that. There's a sign-up sheet also for our Tyler Rotary Young Citizens Club banquet, and volunteers are needed for that. That's one of the best things that our club does. We've been doing this for decades. We have booklets that show the people that we've honored in the past, and I hope a goodly number of you will show up for that and help spearhead that effort. You can see Robert Wells or Holly Lewis with any questions you may have. Next week's meeting is going to be Jeff Shapansky and the Dixie Elementary Alumni Association. And at this time, I would like to ask Cheryl Way to stand up. Cheryl, ever since I've joined Rotary here in Tyler, I've noticed you very, very consistently with your attendance at Rotary. You always have a cheerful smile. You ask intelligent questions, like when I've been at the table with you about what's going on with the program and how can you volunteer. And I'm appreciative of your tenacity and of your willingness to do cheerful service. You've been an inspiration to me just on the attendance alone, if nothing else. And I'm thankful that you were part of our club. Thank you, Cheryl. And then the next thing that's up is that I was reading one time that some of the that's probably not the word, instinctual fears that we have are things like fear of falling and fear of the darkness and fear of lobsters and the fear of falling in the dark on lobsters. and the fear of speaking at Rotary, and also the fear of those words that say some assembly is required. But thank heavens, our president-elect has none of those fears. And so it's with a great deal of pleasure that I introduce to you our president-elect, Trudy Williams.
Thank you. I didn't realize that I was that fearless. Anyway, thank you all so much for being here. I want to welcome you again, all of our guests, to Rotary. Like they said, we're glad you're here. We hope that you stay. If you have been here more than twice, we really feel like you need to be a part of our family. So I hope you get to make that decision to become permanently a part of the Rotary Club of Tyler. I just got back on Sunday. I had the privilege of going to PETS, which if some of you don't know, that's the President-elect Training Seminar for Rotary Club. And it was extremely busy and I learned a lot, but it was a lot of fun. And while I was at PETS, I got to meet a lot of really, really exciting president-elects and president-elect nominees. You can go as a nominee if you choose to, and then you can go twice. You can go again when you're president-elect, but this was my first time to attend. And I got to meet the president-elect of the Rotary Club of Uvalde. I'll be happy to tell you the story of what that Rotary Club did through that crisis. I got to meet the next largest club, and this was 10 districts that this PETS was for. And I got to meet the president-elect for the Rotary Club of Fort Worth, and they have 600 members. So they have a whole lot going on. And then I would meet president-elects for clubs that had 15 members, 25 members. We were by far considered large. So in District 5830, Allison did tell you right, I got to meet and talk to the president-elect of the Longview Rotary Club, and turns out she actually knew me because she used to work with my father-in-law, who was a principal for an elementary school in White House, and she worked there as their athletic director. And I'm walking down the hallway, going to my next class, and I hear someone running up behind me, and she said, "Hey, wait a minute. Is your father-in-law Curtis Williams?" And of course, you know, I didn't know. I guess I had to say yes. I couldn't lie about it. Anyway, she said, "I know him. Let's take a picture together. Please tell him you met me." And we started talking about our clubs. And she was going to the same class I was because she was 5830. Well, we started talking about membership. And I said, "Hey, how many members do you got?" And I said, we just inducted a few more. And she told me that they were at 116. And so I texted Holly right away. Holly. Holly said, "Well, you're at 122. You need to put that down." So I was like, oh my gosh. So anyway, it literally just happened. So we're doing great things in Longview and in Tyler. And I'm really, really proud of the direction that this club is going. So anyway, enough about me. You guys didn't come to hear about me. You want to know about our wonderful guest speaker today. So I was exceedingly happy to have Scott Martinez, and I have to extend a special thanks to DM Edwards for helping me get in touch with Scott. When I'm lining up programs, a lot of people told me, they weren't able to go to the Tyler Economic Development Council's luncheon on that Thursday when you do the big presentation, because we're here. That's where I was. I didn't get to go. I didn't get to hear it. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if he came to do a very own presentation for us? So today we have Scott Martinez. He is the president and CEO, obviously, of Tyler Economic Development Council and CEO of the Tyler Area Chamber of Commerce. Scott is a native of Laurel, Mississippi. He's all right. We got some Laurel, Mississippians. Okay. Okay. And he has worked in economic development leadership positions in 3 states. He has a Bachelor of Arts degree from Ole Miss. Okay, as well as a Master of Science degree in Economic Development from the University of Southern Mississippi. Okay, okay. He earned the Certified Economic Developer designation from the International Economic Development Council, and he serves on its board of directors. He and his wife Christy live in the Green Acres neighborhood in Tyler with their teenage daughter Riley. I'm excited to have Scott Martinez here, and I hope you are too. Welcome, Scott.
And I do have a fear. I saw it was going to rain today, and I'm scared it's going to mess up my hair for this presentation. So thank y'all so much for having me today. How many of y'all heard me speak before? How many thought it was good? Not as many. It's a pleasure being here today. You know, I followed Tom Mullins, and Tom served in this position, and he was the first person to be the Economic Development Director with the Tyler Economic Development Council, and many of you, Mr. Martin, Mr. Mackey, Jeff, y'all served on that board, you know, throughout the years. Many of y'all served on that board and in the chamber. And when I came here, I had someone say, you know, no one remembers who followed Bear Bryant. And fortunately, I did. It was Ray Perkins because he's from Petal, Mississippi. So, you know, Tom's been a good friend for 20 years. So a little bit about TDC, and y'all heard a lot of this before. Many of y'all were actually involved in the formation and the growth of TDC since it was formed in 1989 with 20 members. Had a $362,000 budget back then in 1989, which wasn't a huge budget even in 1989 numbers. We currently have 135, that number's gone up, and our budget this fiscal year is $983,000. That sounds like a lot of money. That's a smaller economic development budget than Lindale and Kilgore because of how we're funded. But we have to be effective and efficient and very intentional with how we do economic development in Tyler. You're not going to see us write big checks and buy projects. You give an incentive to mitigate a disincentive for locating somewhere. You look at the investment that this community's made in our public schools. You look at what we've done with our roads, our infrastructure. People like Jeff Austin III are involved and continue to be involved in those type things. It's a good place to do business. You look at our faith community, it's a good place to raise a family, raise kids, and grow a business. So what do we do? Someone asked me, what do you do as the head of the Tyler Economic Development Council? It's pretty simple. I've got to show companies that they can make more money and be more profitable in Tyler and Smith County than anywhere else they're considering. It's that granular and I have to be that myopic with my approach. That sounds very sterile. But profitable companies hire people. They pay those people. Those people put food on their table, clothe their kids, and tithe at their church. And those are three things from my perspective that are good. Y'all agree with me? Yeah. All right. I knew this was a real faithful community when I was driving into town and I saw a billboard that said Jesus Saves, and the next billboard said Ann Austin Bank. You'll get me for that, won't you, Jeff? So between 1999 and 2022, TDC worked on 185 projects that we were directly engaged with, creating over 13,000 new jobs. I like to say we facilitated 13,000 jobs. Economic development agencies do not create jobs. We're a catalyst, we're a convener and a connector for job creation by the private sector. If you said economic development says, oh, we created jobs, look at them sideways because private business creates jobs. Retained over 15,000 jobs through 2022, $1.39 billion, and that number is about to rise significantly. 4.8 million square feet of new facilities. So that's what we've done in looking in the rearview mirror. Now let's look at the windshield. Where are we going? So if you look at what we've done as a community, because this is a community effort, this is 20 to 21 job numbers. The 2022 numbers will be pretty similar, but we added jobs at a faster pace than any other metro in the state of Texas. Think about that. You hear about all the growth in Austin, you hear about these things, but if you look at it as a percentage, we're adding jobs at a faster pace in that year than any other metro in the state of Texas. So the Tyler model works. Currently, we monitor 11 tax abatements representing $350 million in capital investment, almost 4,000 new jobs, just under 1,400 retained jobs. We manage 2 TIF districts, the Tyler TIF, which is on the West Loop, that funded the Energy Center at Tyler Junior College. Dr. Mackey, I know you were involved with that. And the Lindale TIF, where the Sanderson Farms hatchery is. So, you look at this abatements, Smith County, we facilitate those abatements with the county, those taxing entities. We don't do an abatement and then just forget about it. We make sure every year that the companies that have active abatements with our taxing bodies comply with what they said they were going to do in that contract. In God we trust, and others we audit. We want to make sure that they're doing what they say they're going to do, and we want to make sure that we're doing right by the taxpayers and making sure we're being good stewards of what we're charged to do. We did a foreign trade zone. We got the latest foreign trade zone established last year. This is foreign trade zone 299, which, we live in a global environment, whether you're a train and you're getting components for your HVAC units from Asia. This is something that's advantageous and makes us more attractive as a community. Our most important role is to make sure the companies we have here are profitable. We need to keep them. If we have an opportunity to grow, to help them grow, we need to be there. We need to be their advocates. They're paying the bills today. We need to take care of them. So, and that's what we work hard to do. So if you look at, since 2021, you look at the investments that we've had with our local companies, and we've helped them with tax abatements and other things. But Train, $76 million. That actually is over $100 million in investment. Train has 2,500 people there now. They basically have all of their residential HVAC business in Tyler, Texas. They just moved a furnace line from New Jersey down here. Tyler Pipe, that facility has been here since the 30s. They're owned by McLean in Birmingham. That facility was, going down. We helped them relocate a foundry from Oakland, California, $36 million investment. They're actually going to hit 500 jobs again at Tyler Pipe. Hood Flexible Packaging, $17 million investment. So that's actually the first phase. We anticipate that being over $34 million when all said and done with our next phase. And then Industrial Wood Technology. It's a wood treatment facility. They do lots of things. Smaller project, but still $7 million. That's a great little project for us. So, me just standing up here saying we have a focus on helping our local companies is one thing to say it, but I can show that we're actually doing that and being good partners with our local companies. This is something we're working on right now. Delic Refining. Y'all know Delic. Everyone knows Delic. We're helping them on their turnaround. That involves 132 million. They had 1,900 contractors in town. Think about a convention coming to town and bringing 1,900 people. By the way, they're going to stay a month. Think about that impact. I think every campground was full. A lot of our hotels were full. And they produce enough gasoline at that facility to fill 100,000 pickup trucks a day. Just to give you the scope of what they do, and their business represents about 40% of Delic's total earnings. So the Tyler facility is very important to Delic. What do we have coming up in the pipeline? Arid Express, a logistics company based in Cookeville, Tennessee. They have a current facility that's small, 5,000 feet. If you look at the appraisal district, the assessment's $295,000 on the tax rolls, 20 employees. So they came to us and they were looking for a new spot for our regional center in East Texas. So we found them a spot. They found a spot up on 155. So now they're going to add 25 jobs with salaries over $70,000 to do a $10 million investment. So this week, Smith County Commissioners Court approved a 5-year tax abatement. The first 2 years of the abatement is at 80%. Years 3 and 4 is at 60%. The final year is 40%. That's not in the economic development world a very aggressive incentive. And think about the previous slide, $295,000 on the tax roll. So they're going to get an abatement at 80% on $10 million. So you're getting a full assessment on $2 million. from $295,000 with the abatement. You know, it's exponentially more tax revenue than they were receiving with their current facility with the abatement. So that project's up and going, and we're moving on that. So what does a project look like that's in the TDC pipeline? Currently, we've got 21 projects in our pipeline. If you look at the median average number of employees for that project, it represents 224 employees, $60,000 salary, capital investment of $132 million. Their real estate need is typically 49 to 50 acres. That's the size site they need. And if the building needs 176,000 square feet. So that's the market demand that we're seeing for our economic development projects in our pipeline. Real estate, you know, I tell people I'm a product of Mississippi Public Schools, so I keep it simple. You know, that first class, if you got a business class, you talk about factors of production, land, labor, capital. Y'all remember that? What was killing us from a competitive perspective in economic development was not having the right real estate that met that 50 acres. You know, show me a business park that's 50 acres with good topography and good transportation and utilities. It didn't exist. So a couple things, I'm gonna jump ahead. So we own property on Earl Campbell. We market it as manufactured. The way the community's progressed, we're doing a pivot. So we had Hal and Mark Priestner do a land plan for that, multifamily for office and mixed use that really ties in with what's happened there. So you'll see this marketed differently in the future just based on what's happening. Brookshire's doing their new store on the loop across from Sam's Club at Earl Campbell Extension, and what's happened with the office product, with what's happened with Jim Loud's project at Truvine. It works better and it fits the market better geographically to do something like that. So we're constantly getting hammered for rail-served industrial sites. So we look around and we found one site that had good topography, was on Union Pacific, you know, a class 1 rail. So, you know, without a plan and Union Pacific saying you can do a rail spur, you've got a piece of dirt with a railroad beside it. That's the reality. So I hired a guy I worked with before, based down in Insurance, who has a relationship with Union Pacific, to do a 10% rail plan and take it to Union Pacific and see if they sign off on it. I spent $4,500 on that. So this isn't big money. Because remember my budget, I've got to be efficient and intentional with how we spend money. So that's what it looked like. So this is turned sideways. So to the left is Interstate 20. To the right is, or my right is 271. And then down there is the Brookshire facility, the ice cream facility they have leased to Highland. And then that's a Union Pacific Class 1 rail. That's the ARCO site that's owned by the Fair Foundation. So what you'll see is Union Pacific's given their seal of approval. We've got preliminary rail layout. So I started taking this to the marketplace, sending it to site consultants and influencers. And guess what happens? I start getting lots of significant interest. First project, this isn't the real project. That's not the real name, obviously. But this is a real project. It's part of the supply chain for semiconductors. They like this site, and 275 jobs, $300 million investment. And I actually walked that project, that whole site with JLL and the company representatives that were here from Pennsylvania. They make a specialized gas that would come in by rail tank cars and ship out by truck to semiconductor fab plants from New York to Arizona. But think about how many places would have, right on Interstate 20 and a Class 1 rail with Union Pacific. So this is sort of, I told Bob Garrett, this was a unicorn site. They just don't exist out there too much. So I get another nibble on this, a pretty significant nibble. We're in the top 15 for this one. This is a steel fab and galvanizing operation. They actually make conduit. $106 million investment, 480 jobs. We're finalists on both of those projects. It doesn't mean anything until they start pouring concrete and hiring people. But we're getting much further in the process than we ever did before because of our preparation. You know, my friend who does real estate in Central Texas, Jim Bowles from Frankston, had lunch with him. He's like, set the table. You know, you set the table with having the real estate asset, the right community leadership, and those things. And what we're doing is set the table, showing people they can do things here. When you do site development, companies look at three things that I work with: speed, risk, and cost. That's what I'm focused on when it comes to real estate. A company is, if they're going to spend that kind of money, I don't know how fast I can get that project going so I get revenue from it. What risks are involved? Are there environmental, archaeological issues? And what's the cost? What's the operational cost going to be long term? So we're helping mitigate some of those things through preparation. Luck, these things aren't just luck. Luck's what happens when opportunity meets preparation. That's the way I feel about it. So you probably saw this, that's the worst picture of me. I'll put that on my website. Gosh. I mean, that frame's not big enough for my big head. So we started looking at sites about 2 years ago. When I came in, I realized, we were losing projects because we didn't have real estate that was compatible to the projects we were seeing in the marketplace. So the top site that we found was along Interstate 20, and we closed on that property January 31st. So I'll give you some history on this. So back in September, a broker representing a building products company contacted us. Came to town, flew a group into town, and I was with another prospect, and actually they were looking at multiple sites. We ended up the first meeting was at Whataburger on 271. Think about that. So the company at that time was going to do a project, needing 100 acres. They're going to spend, at that time, $30 million. It grew to $42 million and create at least 120 jobs. So, what do we do? I mean, we're not just flush with cash over our little 501c3 nonprofit at the third floor of the Blackstone building. So we started looking. We focused in on this site, or they did. They were looking at multiple sites, so they loved this site. They love the western part of that site. There's no road to the property they're interested in. What do? I can't build a road. I don't have the money to build a road. It's not inside the city limits, so they can't, leverage have some sales tax to do it. But I've been talking, and Nathaniel Moran had been on our board for 2 years, and I've just been hammering them. Probably they got tired of hearing me talk about not having sites. They get this American Rescue Plan Act money, ARPA money, one-time money from the federal government. Their allocation's over $40 million, about $10 million. They had some latitude of what they could do. So I went to Judge Moran at the time, now Congressman Moran, and said, help me with the road, not knowing what the road was going to cost. We called Frank Davis, the county engineer, comes over, and we started working with the company to see how the roadway would align. So we went to Commissioner's Court in October. They passed an incentive agreement with TDC to build a roadway, but only if TDC closed on the property. They were going to build a road to nowhere. So that was kind of a tall thing to do. So this is the project site. So this is the roadway we laid out. And why does that road look like that? Remember that median site requirement of 50 acres? I tried to put as many 50-acre sites in there as I could get. And then I looked at the alignment on 155 to try to get a signal at some point. Met with TxDOT this week. We're doing a traffic impact analysis to warrant that traffic signal. So, so that's going to be the new County Road 3344 that'll connect State Highway 155 to County Road 336 and open that property up for development. So, okay, so we got to figure this out. So we did this incentive agreement on the road from the county. We didn't have a price from the seller of what that would cost us. So we negotiated a price with the landowner, entered into a contract to buy. And by the way, that's a Camp Fannin munitions testing facility from World War II. So there's, on the north side of the interstate, they found a tank when they were moving dirt out there at one point. So, this is, it gets better and better, right? So we did boundary surveys, we did the title work, we did everything after this stuff was passed. And now we have this Interstate Commerce Park with an anchor tenant that bought 150 acres in cash when we bought 412, turned around simultaneously and sold them 150. So we have the anchor tenant that will become public in the next not too distant future. So again, we start putting this out in the marketplace. And this sign, you probably saw this in media, this sign doesn't exist. You know what we did? I mean, we don't have any money, so we found a sign we really liked online, and we used Photoshop, and we put it out there because that's a lot sexier than just putting an aerial. But people remember this sign, so I've got to find someone to build the sign. Find money to pay for it. So what happens? So then I get, calling this Project Zebra, but it actually has another name. Fortune 15 company, they need 50 to 75 acres, $100 million investment. They reached out to us once I started putting this out there on the new Interstate Business Park. We submitted the proposal to them actually January 17th. It had already leaked out we were doing this. I already talked to some folks. So where do we put Project Zebra? Right there. And we're a finalist on this. We're down to the final 2 communities on this one. Get another call. Fortune 50 e-commerce company. They need 10 to 16 acres for a 100,000 square foot distribution center. $30 to $40 million investment. We're down to the final 2 on this one. So where are we going to put these guys? You see how this works? We're setting the table and inviting them to dinner. Then we get another one. An automotive supplier. 15 to 20 acres, 175 new jobs, $5 million investment. Where do we put these guys? By the way, you see where Ava is located. So you see how the puzzles come together? Just by, we're able to utilize the county and partner with the county on those ARPA one-time funds, which, by the way, that's a federal allocation. That's not borne by, the tax that you pay Smith County. And, my thing was, what's going to make more sense? There was a lot of demands to the Commissioner's Court for that money. You can buy 20 Tahoes. What's it going to look like in 10 years as far as ROI? You can buy a new building for a county department. You're going to take that building off the tax rolls. You're going to spend money to rehab it, and then you've got to maintain it forever. What's that going to look like for the county in 10 years? And that's how I messaged that and had a conversation with the commissioners. And they were fabulous through this whole process, very supportive. So that's where it is. That's what we got. You see what's driving us, that interstate highway. So that's the property. That's the interchange which goes east and west at 155. And if you think, okay, well, what does this have to do with the city of Tyler? It's not in the city of Tyler. Guess where those people are going to spend money? Guess where they're going to live? They're going to live all over. You look at the city of Tyler's budget, if you look at their general fund, 42% of that general fund comes from sales tax. All that sales tax is collected by people that live in the city of Tyler. They're working at the companies that could potentially locate there. So that's looking from the north side south, but that's what we're working on. But again, you've got to be intentional. I mean, we had to have a lot of help making this work, whether it was engineers, whether it was Jim Hedrick with Potter Men. Lots of people helped us. Nothing happens by accident. We can talk about all these generic, sterile numbers, this much capital investment, this many jobs. But at the end of the day, it's by those families that are supported by those jobs. And when we lose focus of that and what economic development really is, then we're off kilter. I'm a firm believer in this is this is mission work. If people have a job and they're able to support themselves, then it makes their life a lot better and their families' lives a lot better and our community better. Thank y'all so much, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I didn't give y'all the annual meeting presentation. I apologize for that.
No, this is great.
Thank y'all.
Where's Allison?
Yes, ma'am. I'm a great customer of Rotary Grocery Company. No, with Costco, nothing's official with Costco. They want the world. I'll just be honest with you. They want the land. They want you to pay them to come here. And that's basically it. They want free land, and then they want all the sales tax generated from that facility. And it's a tall order. And our retail climate is so robust here. I think we were up 12% last year or something with our sales tax. So they'll come, it gets back to profit. At some point, it's not profitable for them not to be here. And that's what it'll come down to. Because you look at the demographics with our incomes, with our growth, companies make decisions on how they can make money. And Costco is going to realize by them not being here, they're missing out on making money. I hate to be so harsh, but we get a lot of, all of our communities around us are funded by half-cent sales tax. This community made a decision when we passed the half-cent sales tax way back to basically use it for capital projects in the city of Tyler. So what has that done? That half penny generates about $17 million a year. To date, it's funded $300 million of capital projects. When's the last time the city of Tyler's gone out to get for a bond election for roads because of this pay-as-you-go? So how does that impact? And you think about all these people coming to Tyler, spending money, generating half-cent sales tax, and then you think about our property tax rate. So we're at 25 or 27 cents per $100 valuation. Longview's at 57. They're having to service debt on those capital projects that we pay as you go here in the city of Tyler. So me as a property taxpayer, I like that. And it obviously hasn't adversely impacted our economic development. Yes, sir.
TDC and the chamber have been active in trying to expand air service to and from Tyler. Is there anything that y'all are working on right now, and what can we all do to help?
Not right now, but Joe, we've got to think outside the box on how we approach this. You've got to guarantee flights. You've got to do lots of things that require us to think differently as a community. Shreveport, had created a thing called the Regional Air Service Alliance, RASA, and they passed a tax on their rental cars and some other things directly to supplement those airlines to get additional flights in there. So now they've got a flight to Charlotte and to Denver on United. And that's a direct result of them being intentional and levying that tax to basically visitors for that purpose. But we've got to be more creative in how we approach that.
Scott,
Yes, sir.
just a compliment. I really like the fact that you attract living wage jobs and you have a threshold. I don't remember what that was. There are a lot of places that would move to Tyler but wouldn't be good business for us.
Not every deal's a good deal. We get as many suspects as prospects. And I could give a whole presentation on suspects. It's interesting, when you ask for 3 years audited financial statements, they go away. By the way, I enjoyed going to your art gallery the other evening for the Heart of Tyler event. That's a great asset for the community.
Thank you very much, Scott. We have a certificate for you in which we placed a donation in the Tyler Literacy Council on your behalf. This was a very informative program. Thank you so very much.
I'm a Rotary Club named Cat.
We try not to bleed our treasure.
This is my third time. Dr. Edwards said he was sponsoring.
All right.
It's time now for the Ace of Diamonds. I know Jim Blair III is here. What's in the kitty?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, you all know.
$816.
$815, okay. Let's have Scott draw the winning ticket. And we need the last three numbers.
Oops, sorry.
Zero 168.
168, yes.
168, who's got that? Okay. Dr. Wells, go up and check your card.
It's over
It's
here,
over.
Sandy.
Over here.
It's over there.
Think positive, Sandy.
Yeah, let's check this. All right. That one.
No,
Ah,
more
better
close.
luck next time. Before we get four-way test of the things we think, speak, or do, I to cut off our former president. I know he had something important to say, and I'm going to give him a moment.
I was going to say that one of the reasons we're growing is because you're so humble.
Humility is one of my greatest traits. What can I say? Now, let us stand and repeat the four-way test of the things we think, speak, or do. First.
Is it the truth?
Second.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Third.
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
We are adjourned.